What is going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Sorry about the little lag there. Just trying to do a little too much all at once, but obviously it's your boy, SAJ, the somewhat loud mouth of the South. I'm still on recovery mode, trying to get the voice back, get ready for Birmingham this weekend. And I'm actually coming to you from a studio tonight. I'm coming to you from the Ugly Duckling Car Lot studio. And if you know, you know,
I
and you
have heard of
shouldn't
that
know, and
place.
it's really bad, and I'm sorry.
I have heard of
Okay.
that place. Yep. What is up? I am BD. Today, you know what? I'm gonna come at you from an extra special studio. Uh those who know, those who don't know, whatever. This Sunday is my wife and I's 10th anniversary, May 4th. May the 4th be with you. Yes, we got married
Also
on
with
that
you.
day for that reason. Uh
Yep.
our first date is the studio I'm going to come from because it is a place that is no longer around. It is the Thai Chili on Stone Oak Parkway and Huebner Road.
Oh,
So that was where our,
oh,
our first our first date was, and that place is no longer there, unfortunately. So today I'm coming at you from the Thai Chili Studios on Stone Oak Parkway.
was
And
that
you
when
know that with what?
go ahead,
Oh,
finish.
I was going to say, and I know this is Texans talking football, but I do want to give congratulations to Steph Castle, NBA San Antonio Spurs Rookie of the Year. That means back-to-back Rookie of the Years for the San Antonio Spurs because we had Wimby last year and Castle this year. So,
Who are they?
yeah,
You
yeah,
know I'm kidding.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you know I'm kidding. I don't have a dog in that fight. I don't dislike basketball. It's just not my thing. So, hey man, do it to it. Congratulations to what's his name and Gumby and Pokey and whoever else is involved with the Spurs organization. I'm excited that potentially what is it, Ginobili might be coming back to actually be the coach. That'd be nice to get the some of the extended family members back together
I haven't
and
heard that. I know he
yeah,
comes to help out every now and then. All the kind of the old Spurs do. I haven't heard him actually be in a official coaching role.
rumblings are talking about it, but it's again, it's just rumors. I mean, what the heck do I know? I don't follow basketball. I don't care. That would be nice though. Really? I mean, because he's kind of a San Antonio legend. He was,
Oh yeah,
part of the triple towers, whatever they called them. And
the
I mean, he was
triplets.
definitely
Twin
yeah.
Twin Towers was Robinson and Duncan. The triplets was Duncan, Ginobili, and Parker. Come on,
Okay,
man.
there you go. Well, I don't know. I just know he was part of the championship run. Anyways, that being the case, good luck
It's way
for
too
them.
much basketball talk for Texas talking football.
Yes, we should be talking about the foosball. So, without further ado, let's start off with the easiest one to talk about tonight, which would be the IFA. There's nothing to talk about. There's no news. Okay?
No
So,
news.
we still don't know what's going on. I wonder if the IFA knows what's going on. And this is not a shot. This is kind of a shot. I'm not going to lie. Okay? This is kind of a shot at the IFA because I know they were trying to make something happen and then half the team's bailed out. What's up, Robert? Good to see you, man. Um, but then the team's bailed out, like I said, and they didn't really say anything about it, except we're not going to talk about that. We're going to move forward. And they never even really talked about what the plans are to move forward. So how
Yeah.
much can you really invest in that? So fingers crossed. I'm hoping because I know there's some really good people involved with this organization. I'm hopeful they can get it off the ground and make something happen here. The whole concept just seems sketch at best, honestly. But we'll see what happens. What's up, Rig? Glad you guys made it home safe. I'm was excited to see you guys. I'm sorry we didn't put up a better game. We'll be talking about it in a bit. Hola,
Yeah.
amigo.
I
¿Qué
IFA
pasó?
IFA who that IFA who. I know it's enough about the IFA. Who knows what's happening? I don't think anything's
Exactly.
happening. So let's move on.
Exactly. So what we are going to talk about next, though, is the NFL draft. So first and foremost, we talked about it last week. Kind of concerned about how many people were going to be showing up in Green Bay. Well, I guess we didn't really have that much to worry about because there weren't that many damn people there, unfortunately.
I mean, what was it? Was like what 250,000?
It was 250,000. But
I mean,
compared to the
that's still
80,000
that's still
Detroit got,
double what's normally there. So I mean,
oh,
you're
it's
still put
more than double.
Yeah, you're still
You
putting
know?
like double the strain on the facilities and stuff there, and the you know the system. So who knows?
Yeah.
I haven't heard any stories of pipes backing up or electrical grids going down, but
No, you won't because I mean, hell, half the people are probably just drunk anyways. So it was not it didn't turn out exactly the way that I was kind of halfway hoping it would, that it would just be this, humongous horror story. But it seemed like it was a good event overall. Obviously, the weather is great in Green Bay, beginning of spring. Well, actually halfway through spring, almost in the summertime. And everything just kind of worked out well there. But they definitely did not get the population that they were thinking about. Um, True beer sales were probably through the roof in Green Bay, and realistically speaking, beer sales
that's just
probably
normal.
would
That's just
go up.
normal, though.
Yeah, I mean, that could be the opening of walleye season up there, right?
Yeah,
That just happens, right? There's only there's only a couple of things to do in Green Bay, and they all start with an F, and we're not going to go anymore. And it's this guy, and it
this
is two
guy.
Texans talking about football. Well, actually, technically, one native Texan, one transplant Texan.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
but I've
One
certainly been here long
Wisconsin.
enough.
I don't know.
Yep,
What do y'all
I've
call
been here.
yourselves up there?
Wisconsinites. I know.
Wisconsinites.
Yeah,
Sounds
I know.
dumb.
It's the weirdest, uh it's the weirdest thing. But anyways, that being the case, um we definitely want to talk about the draft. Okay. Great, that they held it in Green Bay, one of the most legendary, iconic stadiums in the NFL. I mean, it's one of the first ones. But obviously much smaller town, doesn't really have the facilities to host a huge thing like Detroit did. It still turned out pretty good from what I can tell.
Yeah.
That being the case, I really think that we probably should get into the grades that each team received and whether they actually met the needs or not. Because I know we talked about, is Dallas going to get everything that they need? Is Green Bay going to get everything that they need? Right. So, BD, why don't you kick off your division, your team? Let's talk about how the Cowboys did and kind of versus the competition in your league or your
So yeah, so obviously, we talked last week, and I was hoping that Genty was going to drop down to the Cowboys because I really wanted him. Um, he did it. I know in all the mock drafts that we were kind of looking at before, he was projected to go fifth to Jacksonville. Then obviously Jacksonville made the big trade to get up to number 2 to take Travis Hunter, which I was like, all right, maybe he'll drop now. And then the Raiders went and took him. So, the guy that I wanted was off the board. But I'm pretty happy with our pick. We got Tyler Booker, offensive lineman from Alabama, big dude, really solid player. And I don't know if you're watching live or if you saw the video and stuff, but how happy the guy was after he got drafted and running down and you just slapping the Cowboy stars. He's running down the hallway and just giddy with excitement. Man, that's what you love to see. Like just a guy that's just so happy that he got picked and stuff. And I just it's kind of one of those like, oh, it's just a great moment to see. Um, I know a lot of people say he was kind of graded a little lower down in the draft. We maybe could have picked him up later, but offensive line is a major hole for this team, and I think he's a solid pick to kind of help kind of plug the hole with Zach Martin retiring. I know there were a lot of projections for a wide receiver, and I said this last week. I would have been pissed if we took a wide receiver with our first round pick. We need a lot of help. Wide receiver is not the biggest need we have. Yes, CeeDee Lamb needed some help, but not with the first round pick. Second round, we took an edge rusher out of Boston College. I like that pick. Got a cornerback from East Carolina. Really solid pick up there. Got a running back, Jaden Blue out of Texas. He's Texas, so I don't think I can trust him quite yet. But hey, we need some running back help. Got another linebacker, another tackle. We got a defensive lineman, got another running back, and another defensive lineman. So no wide receiver help, which I was actually a little surprised. I figured it probably kind of the mid rounds we would have taken a receiver, but kind of really shocked we did it. I know a lot of the grades that we saw for the Cowboys, they got A minus. I didn't see any A pluses. I just think A and A minus is what I saw. But I think it was really a solid draft. They addressed a lot of issues that were needed. So no big splashes, no big sexy names or anything like that. But just I think some pretty solid picks.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Dallas had some pretty good picks that filled some voids there that obviously there were some concerns about. I do think that overall, A minus is a fair grade. Not really sure how, again, like you were talking about with your running back, how he's going to kind of pan out. I
And
don't.
we picked up some running and I forget the guy's name. Came from Carolina. We picked up a running back in free agency, so we're not starving for backs right now. But
Right. But you definitely should have some pretty healthy competition in your running backs room to try and fill some of those voids. Um, I do want to talk about, some of your competition's picks. Washington, for example, they got an overall grade of B. Day one, they got a C plus because they drafted the offensive tackle out of Oregon. I don't know that that was necessarily one of their needs, so I'm not really understanding what that pick was all about. I mean, that's not. I mean, you're not using him for trade capital or anything like that, so why grab him? Um, and yeah, that's 100% what happens when you get older, Tim. Welcome
yep,
to our club. Um, Overall, I do think the rest of their picks were okay. I'm very surprised they had so few, but again, they were probably trading things away. If you look at Philadelphia, where are they at? I gotta find them again because I lost them. They got an A minus. They had a ton of picks, and I posted Havo's comment earlier. And I do have to say, a lot of Texas players were drafted this year, and that's
they
pretty
were.
surprising. Even
Ohio
yours
State
was
was the number one college with draft picks. I think they had 14. Texas
Mhm.
was like third, I think. I forget
Right,
who. I forget what the order. I saw it a few days ago, but there was
right.
uh, Big Ten and SEC had uh, a ton of picks. So, I mean,
Hmm.
I know I was listening to one of the broadcasts talking about it, and we think of like the Big Five, conferences. It's really now it's the Big Two. It's the SEC and the Big Ten, or
Hmm.
really the only like big name conferences in college football. Just thanks to
Right.
all the movement and everything.
Yep. Which still makes me feel good because the University of Wisconsin's still in the Big Ten, but they're not a powerhouse anymore. They have lost football royalty, and that's just with losing Barry and oh, anyways, like this football. Um,
Yeah,
we definitely lost a lot of clout in just college sports with uh, the portal and everything else just kind of going against us. So yeah, Wisconsin, it's going to be a very hard fight for Wisconsin to kind of get back into relevancy, and it probably won't happen in the next several years, at least. Anyways,
yeah. So
back to
look at talking about our division still. Still have the Giants. They had a pretty good solid pick with their edge rusher, their number three pick. Uh, but then they traded up at the end of the first round and picked up Jackson Dart, which was a
Mhm.
little questionable. He was good at Ole Miss, but he wasn't great. I wasn't looking at him as a first down quarterback. And I mean, who they picked up not Russell Wilson. No, they did. They did pick up Russell Wilson,
Yeah.
uh, and they had like 4 quarterbacks in their room already, and they go and add another one. So I just I don't
Well,
think Dart's going to be their starter anytime. You know,
no, but I mean, in their defense, right? If you've got quarterbacks that can go now, you pick up somebody for the future. And I'm thinking that, the coaching staff currently, which probably won't be there in 2 years, sees something in Dart that could potentially make a competitive team, right? They could be planning on building around him in the next year or so. And then, maybe he takes the reins in year three. But they've got quarterbacks to kind of keep things moving forward right
that's what
now.
they
So,
Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston was the other quarter. I knew they had signed another one,
okay.
but
So then I take back my comment about keeping the team moving forward, but there was still there were still, there's still some hope there, right? Danger Russ may
yeah.
come back for a game or two, right? And you may get, mid-level Russ for some of the other games, and then you just kind of see
And
what
they
happens.
still got freaking old Tommy DeVito. I don't know how that guy's been hanging on to the team, but I guess he's a local favorite, and probably the mob's got some their hooks in the Giants ownership and GM. So that's why Tommy DeVito's still on the roster.
I'm sure. Um, I think it's worth mentioning that Jacksonville did get Travis Hunter with the number 2 pick. That could potentially be huge for them, right? I would really love to see how they're going to utilize him, especially with him saying that he specifically wants to play both sides of the ball. And
Oh, they've
you
already
don't
announced
see
he's going
NFL
to. So
players doing that.
he's going to, and also I don't know if you saw it came out yesterday. He's going to wear number 12 when he's on offense. He's going to flip jerseys during the breaks, and he's going to wear 21 on defense.
Oh my God, are you serious?
Yep.
That is insane. I cannot believe that they're going to actually allow that to happen. You
Yeah.
know, well, whatever. It's Jacksonville. Okay.
You
So
get
much
two
love.
jerseys for the price of one,
Yep. Much
or
love to
one jersey for
Renee.
the price of two. I don't know how it works out, but I was
Well,
told there would be no math.
you would just wear it inside out, and then it's the same thing. At least the stitch lines, right?
Right.
Anyways, much love to all
It's
of our
just going to be
Jacksonville
Velcro. It's
friendly.
just going to be like just.
Wait, who's 22? Anyways, um, pardon me. It's exciting. I can't wait to see what happens with Hunter in the NFL, and just how long he's going to keep up playing both sides of the ball. But so they got a pretty good draft grade, A minus. Day 1 and 2, they got A minus, and then day 3 they got a grade of B, which is still, I mean, it's still not bad, right? They got some decent picks in the 6th and 7th round. We have to obviously see how those players develop, because like Green Bay is famous for it, but it can happen to any coach, right? You can get some of those kind of unmined gems in those later rounds and actually turn them into 4 and 5 star NFL athletes. Doesn't happen a lot, but that's the whole kind of point of it, right? So, anyways, talking about
What
my
about your team, man?
week 8,
How'd you feel about y'all's picks?
I think we did good overall. I know there was some bashing of the receiver that we got out of TCU, but he fills a need that we don't have. Golden out of Texas, great deep threat, great speed, great hands, pretty good, football IQ, should be able to make an impact fairly quickly. Williams out of TCU is a potential number 2 or slot receiver, right? Maybe not as fast as Golden, maybe not as, football IQ wise, maybe he's not at that same exact level, but he is still definitely a threat. And he could be that, short down yardage or middle yardage situation that Jordan Love needs, because he doesn't really have that right now outside of our tight ends. I mean, our best
Yeah.
receiver, Christian Watson, we don't even know if he's coming back or not, right? Because of the hamstring injury. And our running game, I mean, that we relied on it so much last year because we didn't have the receivers, and it didn't really even turn out. I mean, I think what's his name? Jacobs had 2 games over 100 yards for the entire season, right? And your back's got to get more than 100 yards, you know?
Yeah. No,
That's
definitely.
that's just yeah, not going to fly. So the other pickups that we got, we did get some pretty solid looking edge rushers, and I was a little surprised by the offensive tackle that we picked up. We do need a little bit help on the offensive line, but we need help on defense, I think, a little bit more. And then we only got one cornerback the entire draft. So I'm very concerned about that because what the hell is his name? I can't remember his name. Jair Alexander is probably not going to be coming back to Green Bay. So what are we going to do with that? Right. So I mean, there's still possible free agent signings. Green Bay never signs free agents. We know that, and they did this year. So, well, and last year too, even with Josh Jacobs. So we'll just have to see what happens. But overall, I think we did pretty good. I don't know that I would have necessarily graded us um, an A minus. I think it probably, was like a really, really, really super strong B plus, maybe just edging into A minus. Um, but I don't know that I would fully necessarily agree with the whole A minus grade. But overall, not a bad draft. There's definitely potential there. Now, our brothers to the east, Detroit Lions, they got a B overall, and they really got beat up for their day 2 picks. Man, they picked up an offensive guard and a wide receiver, which wasn't really necessarily what they needed. I mean, if they needed, help there might have been some better picks for them other than the ones that they went with, right? So we'll see. We'll see kind of how that develops. I mean, Detroit. How much can you really complain about? I mean, look how deep they went into the
Yeah.
playoffs, right? So it's not really, and it isn't like they lost a whole bunch of players. So we'll have to see what happens. The Chicago Bears are, of course, the Chicago Bears. And where are my Chicago Bears at here? Um, they're so unimportant. We just looked right over them. Here we go. Chicago got a B plus. Looks like they filled a couple of needs, and then day 6 they were just kind of like bargain bin grabbing. You know, because I mean they got a C for a grade. Most teams
Yeah.
don't get C's. Um, oh, I didn't know that we were doing that on air, but okay. What's up, Excalibur?
I thought
Good to
that was
see you,
quiet.
man.
I'm sorry.
Robert, I don't know when the Hall of Fame game is. Um, we'd have to look into that. But I don't have that information readily available. So BD's going to look it up while I'm talking to finish out kind of the NFC North. Minnesota, um, Minnesota
So
did
did
okay, but I think they got the worst grade out of everybody. They got basically B's across the board, which kind of makes sense. I mean, if you know people from Minnesota, they're just kind of, right there, kind of at average, maybe. I don't know what all needs they picked, but it looks like they needed a little more help on defense, and they didn't really focus on defense at all, except for round 5 and round 6. They got 2 defensive players, but everybody else was offense. And they also didn't have very many picks, so they must have been trading people away to get other things. Um, but
yeah.
overall, looks like Green Bay did the best in the draft according to NFL. We'll have to see what that translates into as far as actual talent. Now, definitely want to talk about the Texans as well because obviously we're Texans, and we're going to talk about Texas teams in general. For our Houston friends, looks like Houston did very well. The only day that they didn't do so great was day 3, and again, probably because of what was left versus what they needed. Um, they They got two more Iowa State players to support CJ Stroud. Um, they did trade up in the second round. Um, it looks like they made some very intelligent moves. And
Yeah, and I mean they didn't even have a first round pick. They didn't have a pick until day two, and they had 2 second rounders, and then they had quite a few picks for the third day in between rounds or 4 and 7. But
Mhm.
they
Yeah,
were, like I
they
said,
had
no picks day one, but pretty busy the rest of the draft.
okay. So right here, Vikings are not running the North next year. I can promise you that.
What's funny?
Okay.
Speaking of Vikings, I we were at the Brahmas event on Friday. Not you, Jay wasn't there, but I was talking to Brahma Bro during it, and they had the draft on along with the UFL game that was going on. Um, the game was at Green Bay. I saw a lot of obviously Green Bay fans. They showed a lot of Lions fans, showed a lot of Bears fans. I don't remember seeing many Vikings fans shown during the first day two, day one, day two of the draft. Like I couldn't even remember seeing them show up on the screen. I'm sure that when they made a pick, but a lot of times as they were kind of panning through the crowd, they'd show random groups of fans. But I didn't see any Vikings fans that often.
That's
I
because
thought that was interesting.
we don't let them into the state. So,
That's probably a smart move.
there's a reason why there's a wall on that west side of Wisconsin. I'm just saying. That's not true at all. It's not true. Don't start quoting me for saying stuff like that. Anyways, some definitely
I thought you were
interesting
gonna say something
picks here.
like there's a wall and Minnesota was going to pay for it.
That's only if he would be governor. That'd be a whole different thing, though. Anyways, some pretty good picks overall, right? Dallas did pretty good. Houston did arguably very well, and we'll have to see if that actually translates out into something because I know they had their struggles last year again, right? So let's see if they start out hot this year or not. They did pick up a quarterback, which I'm kind of wondering why you would pick up a quarterback if you've got Stroud. The only thing I can think about is
I mean,
again kind of banking on the future.
They picked up a 6th round guy. It's not like they're expecting him to be a threat to Stroud. Probably, yeah. I don't know what their backup situation is like, but there's probably somebody that might try and compete for a backup job.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. So, Sandy, we definitely have some thoughts about that. We will get to that in just a little bit, though. We just want to finish up on the draft first, then we're going to jump into the UFL. So again, right, some pretty good picks, some interesting moves by a lot of teams. I did think it was interesting that Shedeur Sanders went in the 5th round to Cleveland, right? I want to
mean,
see.
Homeboy
Yeah,
probably wish he would have gotten undrafted instead of going to Cleveland. Come on now.
well, true, but he could be I mean, he could be trade capital later on, depending on how he develops, right? Um, if he goes into Cleveland with that chip on his shoulder, trying to prove stuff, Sabrina, don't say things like that. You know we don't curse and talk like that in this house. Come on. Um, but um, if Shador can actually develop, he may be able to work his way out of Cleveland to a better team, right? But he's going to have a lot of work to do
Yeah.
because obviously 5 rounds worth of picks before him, nobody wanted to invest the capital in him and take him on their team. What's
And
up,
I'm sure you
Chichen Gramacita?
hey, what's up, Jackie? And I'm sure you heard of the prank call that he got too, right? In
I
the
did. And that was another thing that I wanted to talk about. So it actually was on ESPN radio this morning. They were talking about it that
it was
they try and do.
the son of the Atlanta Falcons defensive coordinator is the one who made the call.
Oh wow, I didn't even know.
Yeah,
They didn't say any of that.
so Sanders basically he had gotten a brand new phone number and only gave it out to NFL coaches and stuff like that. It was like his draft phone or whatever. So that's where he got the call. So that's where people it had to be somebody from in the league because that number was only given out to league personnel, league coaches. And Yeah, the son found the number on a family iPad or something and made the call. I mean, I thought it was hilarious. I know, like, I'm here for a good prank call, and that just sounded like a good one.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay, but on the same token, you're kind of jacking with people's futures, and that part,
I mean, it's kind
you
of a
know,
douche move, but you know what? I still thought it was funny.
yeah, but you're here for conflict,
I
so
am.
it
I
all
am.
works out. So, okay. So again, that's pretty much, the draft in a nutshell. Lots of interesting picks. Let's see what happens now, right? Because we've got training camp that's going to be starting in August. We're going to start seeing how these folks are actually going to pan out, if they're going to make the actual squad, or if they're going to wind up on the practice squad, or if they're going to wind up in the UFL, right? Because that's happened before too. So let's go ahead and break down some of these crazy games. First and foremost, um, the Memphis Birmingham game. I I gotta say I couldn't be happier with the results, right? Um, I thought for sure that, I was pulling for Memphis, but I did not think that they were going to be able to pull this off, and they did. So, and it wasn't like, um, I mean, it wasn't easy, not necessarily going to lie, right? It went into overtime, um, which I think this was, if I'm not mistaken, this was the first overtime
Yep.
in UFL history. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we had an overtime game against Houston in the XFL, but yeah, since the UFL merger, this was the first overtime game. It
Yeah.
was a good game. Memphis kind of jumped out early, and first half, it was Birmingham just looked bad. They couldn't move the ball, couldn't do anything. It was crazy. And then second half, they kind of start coming back, and you're like, all right, here we go. Hit now they're gonna, you know,
Yep.
and then Memphis just kind of stuck around. They didn't let Birmingham, blow the doors off of them. They only kicked a field goal in the second half, but the defense was able to hold Birmingham to enough. So, and then the overtime. So it
Yep.
was it was an interesting game. I wish or I'm sorry, Birmingham would have won. One, because I picked them, and I wanted, they haven't lost in Birmingham, hadn't lost at home in how many years? I kind of wanted us to be the team to break that streak, and
Yep.
now Memphis got it before us. So now we're playing a pissed off Birmingham team next week or this coming week. So
Yes. And Rig, not necessarily, because I'm pretty sure we were the underdogs going into that game, and we proved why. So I don't know that this was kind of the underdog weekend. Uh St. Louis versus Arlington. That was last week. Yeah, that one made me okay. So talking about Sandy's comment here about, last week's game, St. Louis versus Arlington. Um, I thought it went quite well. I thought Arlington handled business and showed that, St. Louis is a mid-level team. You know, they have the potentials of being a threat. You know, uh, in regards to the playoffs, right? But the way they play against the really strong teams, I don't think that that they're going to make it into the playoffs. Honestly, I think it's going to come down between probably DC and Arlington, and Michigan, and potentially Birmingham. I think those are going to be your four top contenders for the playoffs this year. So, that being the case, to
why
kind of
don't you
back that up.
yeah, like Tim's comment here. Uh, Arlington and St. Louis, they're playing again this week. They're playing starting on Friday night.
Oh, this week.
Yeah.
Well,
Let's talk.
again,
Let's talk
I've
about.
got
Let's talk about this past week. Then we'll get into this coming
right,
week next.
right,
So let's
and of course
finish
I've
up.
got Arlington, right? They're going to be 2-0 against St. Louis, which unfortunately we could never be. That's fine. Um, Michigan, St. Louis, that whole travesty. Okay, um, turned out to be a good game
Let's just talk about
overall.
the game first. Obviously, there's the whole
Yes,
other stuff after, but let the
right.
game first.
Mhm.
which it
I
was
was
it
just
was a
gonna
good
say,
game,
it was a good game, right?
and all the games
It
this
was
weekend except for one were good. But
mhm.
yeah, I
Here's
mean, Michigan, they came out, first quarter with the lead. Uh, Second quarter, St. Louis came back, um,
yep.
and it was kind of a good back and forth game the whole time.
Mhm.
It was just
It
really entertaining to watch.
yes. Great production level game here. A lot of offense, a lot of big plays on defense, kind of when needed. But there was definitely action throughout the whole entire game. I thought it was
No,
really surprising because I didn't realize the stats were this skewed, right? If you look at the time of possession and the offensive yardage, Michigan held the ball and produced 400 yards of offense in 35 minutes to St. Louis's 295 in only 24 minutes. What that means is that St. Louis was getting the ball closer to the end zone, but was able to do things with it. Michigan had to march completely down the field to turn possessions into points. And I mean, I think they did pretty well, but they also had 10 penalties. That's always going to hurt you, right? Their fourth down conversions were not the greatest, right? Only one of three, and their third down conversion 7 for 11, not horrible. Um,
I mean 7 for 11 is pretty good. I mean, that's about
mhm,
60%.
yeah.
So you know,
Um,
and I think
th-
St. Louis got the benefit of two big plays from Hakeem, which
mhm,
I that second I'm saying that second touchdown that Hakeem got was offensive pass interference. Totally
yep.
had arm outstretched with the defender, but the Memphis couldn't challenge because they challenged previously for an OPI for against St. Louis that apparently when you grab a defender and bring him to the ground, that is not offensive pass interference, according to our lovely rules analyst. So that was a bullcrap call. Memphis should or Michigan should have had another challenge to be able to challenge the offensive pass interference on Hakeem. So
It's I definitely don't disagree. Um, what is up, my Panther Pride? My guys, good to see you. Jackie, can you post the link to that story in the chat, please? Because I definitely want to look into that. And for some reason, X is not loading on my computer. I guess I said too many bad things about Elon Musk, and now it's catching up to me. Um, but yeah, it from a production standpoint, great game. I do think, and we're probably going to have to talk about this because I do think that was a pretty evenly matched, a pretty even matchup, right? Um, we got to talk about the slap.
oh yeah.
Okay, okay. So I know you guys all know, so I'm not going to waste time, showing the video, any of that other kind of stuff. But I want to talk about it and I want to get some of you guys' reactions, right? First and foremost, was Nakua in the wrong for slapping the player? Okay. And if so, does the punishment fit the crime? So, thoughts, Brian? I know you've got some thoughts about it. Why don't you
I
go ahead
do.
and share some of your insight with us?
So when I first saw the game or first saw the slap and stuff, it was like, man, you you can't do that, dude. You got to be able to hold your composure. And like I said last night, I know St. Louis fans are the most slappable fans in the league, but you got to maintain your composure out there. Whatever the some idiot fan might say or whatever, you can't do that. Then it started coming out that reports that the fan spit on Nakua first. Um, and there's enough out there about it that I do trust the reporting that the fans spit, and the punishment of only one game tells me that yes, the league also knew that the fans spit on him, but the league had to do something. You can't just sweep it under the rug. So the one game suspension, if it was unwarranted or just the fan talking and he got slapped, Nakua would have been out of the suspended for the rest of the season. So the I I'm working with the assumption that the fan did spit on the player, and if that's the case, I would have done the exact same thing. He, you know, you spit on somebody. That's one of the most disgusting things you can do to another person. So, you know, I do agree with some of the other stuff that yeah, the player shouldn't have been over there with the fan. That's true. But Jay, you and I, we are no stranger to having the players come and talk to us during the game and stuff.
Yeah.
So, hey, you can get that, but you know, you know what, Rig, you say that, but I trust the people who have said that the spit happened. And once again, if the spit didn't happen and the league didn't think it happened, Nakua would have been suspended for the entire season or a whole lot more than one game. So with it just being one game, that's just to kind of satisfy. Okay, yes, we did something. We made a punishment, but there was also an interaction before that. And I don't think that Nakua should be the one suspended. The fan should also be suspended. Same amount of time. You would suspend Nakua for a game, suspend the fan for a game. So, it's offsetting penalties, both players ejected, move on.
Right. Now, Tim, you're right. BD and I can speak to this also. We're birds of a feather here. But the difference is that we're not leaning over the rail and we're not allegedly spitting at players or anything like that. I think the worst that we've ever done was talk trash and be asked to meet somebody outside for a fight. Okay. And again, the person was really upset. And I get that. And we did not, when it got to that point, we didn't escalate it. We said, yeah, okay, whatever, whatever. And it was at the end of the game. And so as soon as it was done, the guy was gone. And we left it at that.
No.
Okay. But this part right here, Sandy brought up. I wanted to talk about this. Um, the the egging on of the situation, right? Um, Look, here's that's an unbiased source, by the way. She's seen it, and it's a little embarrassing sometimes, but I mean, we do what we do. Anyways, um, the extra player, number 19, kind of egging on and instigating the whole situation. Why, if that guy is Nakua's teammate, why didn't he step in? Why didn't a coach step in or another player with a level head? We saw it when we went to St. Louis. And again, this is not a jab at every single St. Louis fan. We get it that there are some really good people there in St. Louis, and we know who you are, and we love you guys to death. But the section that we sat in, some of the things that they were saying were some of the most violent, vulgar things that could have been said to a player, and they were way over the line. Things that we would have gotten in trouble for. If had it been in our home stadium, and when things were starting to get heated like that, other players stepped in and said, "Hey, don't chill, don't worry about it, move to another section if you need to, do whatever." But they helped keep the peace. That's what a teammate is supposed to do. That's what a coach is supposed to do. You keep control of the sidelines and the situation, whether it's from the opponents that you're facing or the opponents that are in the stands, right? So number 19 has a part to play in this also. And it really surprises me that somebody didn't at least say something to him, that some news came out that he was talked to and counseled about his behavior as well, right? So regardless of whether the fan spit, and 100% I agree with you, the fan, if he would have spit on the player, because again, right now it's still alleged, don't have any solid proof, okay? But if the
And
fan did
I
spit on
don't
the
think we
player,
ever will, but like I said, who we've heard it from, I trust completely. So,
and again, you're not wrong, but I'm very careful to venture out into that kind of territory. Okay. So that's why I'm saying it's alleged. If that did happen, allegedly it did, why didn't number 19 grab Nakua and say, no, get out of here, let security handle their business? Because he could have pressed charges for assault and he had every legal right to. Okay. This is where cooler heads prevail, right? And if you're going to lose it like that over a fan that potentially might have spit on you, or maybe just some spit came out of his mouth. I mean, we don't know. Maybe his gum fell out and it looked like he was spitting at him. I mean, we don't know the whole situation because there's no video of it. But if Nakua is going to lose it at this level, how is he going to make it at the NFL level with fans like they have in Philadelphia and
Yeah.
stuff like that? You know, like how is he ever going to get to that professional level like his brother is? So there, I mean, there definitely needs to be accountability on both parts. The fan needs to be held accountable for his actions, and especially leaning over the rail like that. Because it could have been very easy for Nakua to have grabbed him and pulled him onto the field and just tore into him or really
Which
jacked him
I
up.
guarantee, you know what? If I'm Nakua on that situation, if fan spits on me leaning over the rail, I'm grabbing him over the rail. I'm going to beat the shit out of him. I mean, that's bottom line. I get spit on, and that's
Mhm.
the most disrespectful thing you can do. So
Yeah. I personally, I probably would have spit back. I would have made sure my helmet was off so I had nothing to block me, and I would have got the biggest, nastiest old chunky lung slug and just hit him right in the face with it, man. So, anyways, um, so like right here, see how do St. Louis fans hold? Well, to Philly fans,
yeah,
Philly fans are the worst.
St. Louis fans are the Philly fans of the UFL.
Eh, potentially. It's a little bit of a stretch because nobody is a Philly fan. Okay, that's a whole different level of just and Jeremy, much love for you, man. I know you're a Philly fan. You're not like the rest of them, but you got to admit your fans are pretty rough.
He's the only
Okay,
okay fan.
yeah.
All the
So
rest are douchebags.
yes. Anyways, chippy game, very hard fought contest. St. Louis did come away with the win, and fair enough, they earned it, right? Um, Going to the DC Arlington game, that was another fun one to watch. That was definitely a battle. There were some calls that the officiating again was not so great, um, but I do kind of think uh, everything turned out the way that it was supposed to. Um, but that was another great game to watch. It was another fun-filled offensive possession, and some
I
really
know
key defensive
we watched the
maneuvers.
first half of it at the our smoke bargate, and then like I said,
Yes,
the second half of the game I was kind of popping in and out because we were obviously walking into the dome for our game. So
with our
I didn't get to
walking
see the
beers.
tail end of the game, but we saw the first half, which was the first half was hella interesting. So
Yep. Oh, and by the way, I think the walking beer is officially banned now because it did not. Well, I take it back because we won in DC with a
yeah,
walking beer.
we're in DC, so
So maybe we can only do walking beers in away games, but it
no, we still
certainly
got to
didn't
have
work at
walking
the
in
home game.
beers, but
Okay. Well, what the hell?
yeah, I mean,
It saves me
I got to have a
$17.
walking in beer here. Come on now.
Yep. Again, it saves $17 at the tap. So
Exactly.
um again,
Consume as much as I can before I walk through those doors. So
yep. Good game overall. Uh Timu Tamu went 23 46, 308 yards. He did throw a pick, but he did get 3 touchdowns, right? Perez, of course,
and
doing his
he
thing.
had another rushing touchdown as well. So
He did. He did. Ballage, of course. I hate this. I absolutely hate this.
Tim,
Ballage
yes,
had a good game.
yes, we do. Walking in beer every single game.
Yes. You mean you have to. You have to. Ballage had a great game, 10 rushes, 79 yards. Longest was 33. That should be happening on San Antonio, not with Arlington. But I'm glad you guys are at least putting him to use because this is what he wasn't necessarily able to do with San Antonio because he had no offensive line. So, and I would have loved to have been there for that.
I
Team,
mean, how are
yeah,
you going to have a Timu Tua chant when the guy smokes you for 308 yards passing and 4 total touchdowns? I mean, come on now.
because it's Arlington and
I
that's what you're
mean,
gonna do, you know.
that's like
Again,
you yelling at the Houston player number 6. What have you done? What have you done? When he's already scored like a touchdown in the game
he had like 40 something yards rushing, Brian. He didn't do
and a
anything.
touchdown. So
No, that was before the touchdown.
no, it was after the touchdown.
Shut up. Anyways, yes, the first half for Arlington was amazing. It was a good, strong presentation. They had what 27 going into the half, uh, but DC had 15. you know? Or I'm sorry, yeah, 27 and a half. And I mean, it looked like, DC was, I'm sorry, I take that back. I've got it backwards. Um, yeah, DC put the coal on the second half, right? And Arlington, that's when I guess the defense got really tight with DC. That's the part that we didn't really watch because we were busy trying to go get set up for our game. We probably should have watched that in the stadium too. Oh well. Anyways, obviously, DC got serious about this game and came from behind and wound up taking the win. But so congratulations to DC. You beat one of the best teams and lost to one of the worst team. Well, the worst team. So good job, DC. And we'll definitely be seeing them probably in the playoffs for sure. And I got a feeling that this is going to be the championship round, the XFL championship round rematch in several weeks. So
I'm still
um
holding out hope that we're going to make it, but
yeah, I'm trying to also. But when we lose to Houston 27-3 at home, not not good. Um and Tim, you're right. I mean, some of those bad penalties were very costly. Um San Antonio, man, I mean, I wish I could say
I said it
something
last
positive.
night. This is the worst game I've ever seen them play,
Yeah, 3 years
including the
now.
championship game last year.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was just I don't know what the hell was wrong with the team. Um, defense was just not wrapping up, not tackling, letting guys run through. Offense just couldn't get going. It didn't matter who the quarterback was because obviously, we made a quarterback change halfway through the third quarter. But,
Hmm.
Garantano, he was getting rushed and having to scramble too. But
Yep.
I just, man, I'm like I said, I'm holding out hope. I'm a fan, but my God,
Yeah.
I've seen the good the team can do, which is against
Hmm.
Michigan and DC. I've seen the team at its best. The team in Michigan and DC is a team that can beat anybody in the league. The team that we
Yep.
saw Sunday and the first 2 weeks, well, that's the worst team in the league. So
Yep.
if they can somehow figure out how to get the team from Michigan and DC the rest of the season, and we may have a shot. Obviously, we're going to need some help, but
Oh yeah.
we're only 2 games out of a playoff spot, so 5 games left to
Yep.
go.
Yep. So there is definitely still the chance. I will say this because we didn't really talk about it that much last night. We talked about some stuff, but one thing I specifically noticed that I had a very big problem with, um, when we were on defense, it looked like most of the time we were running a zone defense. All of our defenders were playing over the tops of the
Yep.
receivers. Okay, nobody was trying to make a cut underneath to get an interception to try and force very much. I mean, there were a couple of plays that were broken up, right? But for the most part, we were playing over the top, and so they were just eating us up with mid-range yardage plays, getting us to suck in to play that mid-range and then going deep on us all game long, right? And we've got to do better. Like our defense started out pretty strong the first quarter, but then after that, it's like they figured out what we were doing, and then they just ate us up all game
Yeah,
long.
and
Now,
like I said, it was. I mean, they were screens. It was short out passes, little slants. They were just quick passes to the outside that should have gotten tackled for maybe a yard or two gain, but they were getting 8-10 yards off of it.
yep,
So I mean,
yep,
they, look at the averages for them. They were really only averaging 4 yards a catch, 5 yards a catch. One guy, you had a long of 21 yards. Um, but really, I mean, other than that, like it was just a lot of intermediate passing yardage. So,
yep. And that's really what killed us. Now, real quick, Sandy, I'm not picking on you, but I want to bring your comment up. Okay, you want St. Louis in the championship, just like every other St. Louis fan wants St. Louis in the championship. But are you going to show up if St. Louis doesn't? That's the big question. And I know you probably will. and several of your counterparts are going to, but will St. Louis as a whole, as a fan base, show up
Nope.
like all the other squads have done?
It'll be
Right?
another 10 to 15,000 people at the championship game with St. Louis not playing.
So, and again, Sandy, not taking a shot at you. Please understand, we're not calling you out. It's just some of your counterparts who talk about how badly
Calling
they
the
want.
rest of the St. Louis fans out.
Yeah. So,
Garbage ass
that being
fan
the
base.
case, let's talk about the games going forward. I rest my case.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
Okay. St. Louis, I'm sorry, Arlington at St. Louis this weekend. Okay. Friday night game should be a great game to watch. It's going to be another battle. Um, I'm picking Arlington based on the previous game and the fact that, I mean, Arlington is pretty much on a tear. I mean, they beat them by 15 points. Now that was at home. Um, uh, Yeah, Rig, again, our complaints are not about what your team did. Your team did exactly what they
Yeah.
needed to do. We're talking about it from our standpoint, about how we screwed up, how we did things wrong, because we never should have given you guys those opportunities. I can't blame you guys for taking those opportunities. Hell, if I was the coach, I would have too. Or actually probably the offensive coordinator to tell the coach how to take those opportunities. But again, um, again, giving you guys credit, you guys did what you needed to do.
Yeah.
We presented opportunities because of not playing the plays that we should have played, right? Playing man defense versus zone defense. You guys found the seam, you took advantage of it. Okay. Rig, okay, here you go. That's what you're hearing from us.
Rick, I
Houston
mean,
did a great
we
job.
gave
Houston
you
won.
guys credit. I mean, I told you, I mean, I gave your quarterback credit last week against Birmingham. I mean, he was a hell of a player. He impressed me, and he just kind of did it again this week. Like I said, I mean, he got the ball out quick, got it to the open receiver, and just kind of marched down the field. It was kind of an embarrassment for us. Just we couldn't give up the ball.
Yep. And Sandy, your comment just validates what I was saying.
Yeah.
Anyways, so yes, Rig, and if you remember correctly, and I appreciate you giving us a hard time, I really do. But if you remember correctly, I came and found you guys and told you guys congratulations. And I'm sorry we didn't give you more of a game because what we produced there was embarrassing. Okay, we should have put up more of a fight. If you would have beat us, I mean, you beat us fair and square anyways, but if we would put up a hell of a fight and you guys won, I still would have said congratulations no matter what. This one is harder for me to say congratulations about, though, because we didn't even put up our best effort, right? We put up our best effort. We beat DC, one arguably the number one team in the UFL. We did not show up this game at all. The one thing I will say to his credit, Coach Party took 100% responsibility for it and said, we have to do better and we will do better. And to kind of back up what Jorge said last night on Horns Forward podcast, I believe Coach Party. There will be a difference here.
Yeah.
Is it going to be enough? We're going to have to find out, right? Because Birmingham is obviously going to have a chip on their shoulder because they've got a lot to prove in this championship rematch. And San Antonio, the veterans that were there last year and went through that heartache and pain, have a grudge, and they're going to be playing their hearts out. So hopefully the rest of the guys on the squad who hadn't gone through that yet are going to play with that same kind of heart and same kind of determination. And hopefully we come out with a win. We'll see.
I like how we were talking about Arlington, St. Louis. You then went back to Houston, San Antonio, and then jumped all the way to Birmingham, San Antonio. So
exactly,
because
I'm good like that.
Just
like
paint that picture for everybody. Squirrel.
It's like watching Helen Keller drive down the road, baby. I'm just all over the place.
Jeez.
Okay, Memphis,
just looking for the shiny object.
Yep, Memphis, Houston. That should be a pretty good game. I do see somewhat of an advantage. I believe I picked Memphis for this game.
You did. I picked Houston because
right. I do think
they've got Memphis a better quarterback and a better squad.
Mm-hmm. And that is definitely a factor. I do think Memphis has the momentum. They have the upswing. but this is also Memphis, so they could do what
I
Memphis
mean,
does.
you
No
say they
offense to
obviously
Memphis.
they've won one game. They won one
They
game.
won.
And they
Yep.
got lucky against Birmingham, and
Okay, did we get lucky against DC? I mean, are we
no,
saying the same
because we
things here?
played good the week before against Michigan. It was a follow up. Memphis has not looked good at all. They had
Memphis
one
looked
game
good
where they
last
looked
week.
good, and it was Birmingham.
Okay, then maybe they'll look good again this week, right?
Maybe,
So
but I doubt it.
okay, well, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens on Saturday. Okay, on
See, Rick,
Sunday,
I'm rooting
DC.
for you guys. All right, Jason hates y'all, so mark that down. He said y'all suck.
To a degree. To a degree. DC, Michigan. Obviously, I mean DC. I'm picking DC because they've got the hot hand. Um, yes, and here's going to be the key, right? If
Yep.
your offense can control the time of possession, give your defense time to rest. No matter how hot their quarterback is right now, he won't have a chance to do anything. That's going to be the key to the game. If you guys can control the ball, right? But it's going to be up to you. Well, it's going to be up to your team. Okay. And yeah, you know where the love is. Shut up. Anyways, DC, Michigan.
I got you,
Uh,
Rick. I got you.
oh, shut up. You didn't. Okay, whatever. I'm not even going to touch any of that. I'm moving on. DC should come away with the win. I'm sure Michigan is going to put up a heck of a fight.
I'm
Um,
picking Michigan for that one.
it could be the upset,
Look, I
right?
mean, you know what? DC and Michigan are two of the best teams in the league. So I think it's going
Mhm.
to be a hard fought game. Michigan's at home. They're they kind of had a bad game against St. Louis, a bad win for them. I kind of think they're going to come back a little hungrier, and so that's that and them being at home is why I'm picking Michigan to win. So
Yeah, and I mean that home field advantage is going to make a difference, right? Um, and it could be what they need to get over on the DC defenders. When we played DC, DC looked very flat, and so it could be that I'm sorry, it could be that Michigan takes a play from our book and uses that against DC and owns them at home. You
yeah,
know, anything can happen. We've seen all kinds of crazy stuff. That's why, like, 3 of the 5 podcasters on Horns Forward podcast are tied for second place because the games are all over the place and you can't predict what's going to happen.
and that's what
You know?
That's what I love this about this point of the league is there's parity every week, and so
Yep.
I love it.
Yep. Okay. And then so obviously we're pulling for San Antonio in Birmingham. I'm excited to go to this game. I'm happy for your anniversary. Don't get me wrong. Much love to your wife. But this is one you're going to be missing out on, even if we lose, right? Just the opportunity to go
Yeah,
to Birmingham
I mean,
and actually meet some of the fans.
I
You
wish
know,
I was going, but obviously, I mean, I got it's my anniversary, it's my 10-year anniversary, so I want to make it to 11 years. So I'm not going to Birmingham this weekend. So
understood. And nothing says love like not going to Birmingham. So
exactly.
there you go. Okay, so that pretty much covers that. Let's
But you
flip
only go
over
to
to
Birmingham if you love your sister.
yeah. Okay, I'm just gonna move on. Let's talk about indoor football. Okay, San Antonio lost to the Vegas Nighthawks. I'd break down that game for you, but
It'd be nice.
apparently
Hey,
even the
how about the stats for that game, Jason? You got any stats for that game?
well, I was going to say apparently even the IFL hated that game because they didn't even cover it. Right, there are no
No box
stats
score, no
whatsoever.
nothing, no option to click.
There is
They're like, hey,
nothing.
you want to
So
post the stats of this game? Oh, hell no.
oh hell no. So San Antonio is not doing good again in the IFL. Um, and please understand, San Antonio fans, not really trying to bash the team or anything like that. But they are struggling. Okay.
I mean, one and
Um,
four. I mean, we've lost 3 straight. I don't think that's not bashing the team. That's just straight facts right now. I mean,
yeah.
it is with the team. The
Um,
team's struggling right now, and they need to find a way to turn it around. obviously, let go of the head coach after week 2, after their only win of the season.
Yep.
I think they're just trying to find their identity, figure out where to go from here on. They released last week, I guess. Last week they released the starting quarterback. So I think they're just trying to figure out the team, figure out what's going on.
Yeah. So we are hopeful. The one nice thing about IFL is that they are 16 games deep, right? It's a 16-game
Yeah.
season, so there is an opportunity to still turn this around and be competitive. But if they're going to do something, they're going to have to do it quick because the season is starting to slip away from them, much like the Brahma season is slipping away from us. Let's go down south a little bit. Let's talk about our friends in the AF1 at Corpus Christi.
Do we need to?
Absolute tragedy. So the score wound up being 100, folks, 100-12. Okay. Albany Firebirds beat
Hung
Corpus
100
Christi
on them. This is
Tritons
like ridiculous.
100. Okay. This is something that you would do in a video game. They put up 100 points. Now,
I mean,
it's important.
that's Jorge on NCAA easy mode.
Yes. It's important to note here, right? And we still have love for our friends down in Corpus. But it's important to note here that half the team, half the players, basically, from the information that we're gathering, and Bobby Otten, shout out to Bobby Otten, and also our friends over at Pro Arena Talk, have been trying to get us information as it's become available. But there are allegations that players have not been paid for several weeks, that hotel expenses have not been being covered, all kinds of crazy stuff, right? The league leading receiver for Corpus Christi posted a picture on his socials of his uniform folded up and set outside of his door and
Yep.
said, "See you later, Corpus," or I forget exactly what it was. It was like, "Thanks for the memories," or something.
Just like throughout, like a deuces or whatever.
Yeah. So obviously there are problems going on in Corpus. And Sandy, thank you for the compliment. Um, but so the team that played was not the actual Corpus Christi Tritons. It was a lot of the backups and
Yeah.
probably some emergency players that they were able to find in the Corpus area or whatever. But for example, the quarterback is listed as their defensive back. He threw 8 of 12, 67% completion rate for 75 yards total. Not bad, all things considered. Um, and right here, there you go. I mean, you're not wrong. Albany Firebirds, former San Antonio Gunslingers quarterback Sam Castronova, uh, 2 for 2, 22 yards. I mean, that's insane. He didn't even play the game. Like, he went out there and he just threw 2 dinks and I'm done. I'm done. Right? They brought in their backup quarterback who still went off. Right? 10 of 23.
Wait
Still
a
did
second, where are
pretty
you
good.
getting
I
these
mean,
stats from?
oh, from the AF1's page because they actually covered the game. So you have to click on the game and then click
Yeah.
on the like passing, rushing, whatever.
I'm just,
But every
they have stats. They have stats of a 12-point win, but IFL can't be bothered with stats.
nah, no stats. So like we posted in our preview for tonight, the only team that did well this weekend was Beaumont against Sioux City. It looks like it was Sioux City, right? The Beaumont quarterback went how many attempts did he have? He went 14 and 19, 131 yards, 4 passing touchdowns. Doesn't say anything about rushing touchdowns. Yeah, no touchdowns, but he did rush for 77 yards, which is impressive. Sioux City on their side of the ball, their quarterback went 6 of 11 for 70 yards total. And so most of their offensive production was done on the ground and pretty impressive. 5 touchdowns total on the ground. Again, it looked like that was pretty much kind of a more of a defensive dogfight. We've talked about this before with arena football. It's supposed to be much more fast paced, much more higher scoring, things like that. This last year, that has not really been the case. Most of these games are more like higher scoring NFL games, not like the
Yeah.
traditional UFL. Or I mean
Yeah, not what you expect to
arena
see
games.
from these indoor arena leagues and stuff, you know.
Yeah. So, uh, anyways, Beaumont did good. They move on. Their next game is actually going to be, when is their next one? They're going to be playing Shreveport Saturday, May 3rd. So there's an opportunity if you guys know how to hack the interwebs or whatever and can watch that game, you could probably pirate that signal. It should be a pretty good game. Indoor football, or I mean, I'm sorry, IFL. The next game's coming up. San Antonio is not playing this weekend. Looks like they've got the weekend off and they probably need it, right?
Yeah.
Um, Taking that many losses in a row, they probably need to rest and recuperate. Arena football. Hang on, let me I closed out the website already. I know Corpus has a game, but I don't know when it is. And I honestly don't know if they're even going to be there for that one. It looks like they don't play again until May 12th, and it's a
So
Monday night game.
next weekend, but I mean, with
Right.
all the turmoil and questions, I mean, who knows at
They
this
may
point?
not make it. Right. So just know that there's an active investigation going on by the AF1 to find out what exactly is going on in Corpus. And should there be any updates, we'll definitely share them with you guys. It's heartbreaking to hear that these potential allegations exist out there, because I know that the players are busting their tails trying to get those opportunities to move up the chains. We've seen several of them.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so hopefully they get it figured out down there in Corpus. But uh, watch some football this weekend. Okay, there's plenty of UFL games. Sorry, my voice cracked there. That was really kind of embarrassing. Um, Watch some football this weekend. If you're not, obviously, if you're not going to be making it to Birmingham, make sure you're going to one of the local sports bars
Yep.
that we mentioned on Horns Forward podcast. We mentioned here. It's all over our socials. There's plenty of places to go and hang out with your fellow Brahmas fans. Watch the game. Make sure you're also tuning in, Friday night and Saturday, and catching these other games on early Sunday, even,
Some good
right?
games this
Because
weekend.
viewership matters. Yeah, viewership matters, and there's going to be some really good games. So
Yeah.
it's worth it to invest the time. Um, but again, we've talked about it before. This is the greatest time to be alive. We have football pretty much all year round. Take advantage of it. Okay. Make sure you tune into some of these games and watch some of the stuff. And make sure you tune into Horns Forward podcast on Mondays, obviously here on
Right
Tuesdays,
here on
and
Tuesdays.
our friends on Wednesday, Vamos Brahmas with Jorge and Javi from our Brahma fan from Mexico who makes the drive up here to actually watch these games. Um, if you know Spanish or if you're trying to learn Spanish, it's an incredible show, both knowledgeable, entertaining guys, and it's in another language. You can actually learn stuff, right? Not like from this show. But anyways, that being the case, um, looking forward to a 13 and a half hour road trip to get to meet some people in Birmingham and hopefully watch a really good game. BD, you got anything else to close this section out?
No,
Oh,
like I
yeah.
said, I mean, this weekend's my anniversary, so happy anniversary, baby. Um, yes, right there, we have our very own merch QR code if you want to go get some cool TTF stuff like this glass that I have right here. We have shirts, we have all kinds of stuff over there. So
Yep. Scan the QR code, takes you to our store. If you want to support any of our sister podcasts, Horns Forward, you can find the merchandise there. He tried to say. Uh, Definitely want to give a shout out to our own 210 Bramasita, who pretty much created most of it. There's also the Horns Forward, military support line, right? Check out that whole line. There's great merchandise, right? Go to our store, check it out.
yeah,
Also want to give a shout out to our corporate sponsor, W Energy Drink. Appreciate all that you guys do for us. Could really use some free samples right now because I'm getting a little sleepy, but it is what it is. And then of course your fans, right? Alternative Football Network, Bobby Otten and Pro Arena Talk. Um, uh, just everybody, all you guys for watching us every Tuesday. 105 episodes deep, and we're still here. And I appreciate you guys putting up with us for this long. It's just been an incredible journey, and we're loving every second of it. So
absolutely.
that being the case, guys, tune in next week. I might go live from Birmingham. just to show you how that whole one side of the stadium really truly is empty, and I don't know why, but I mean, it is what it is. We'll figure it out.
Because they only
But,
get like 5,000 fans there anyway. So
well, then that means more front row seats for me. That's all I care
exactly.
about. All right, guys.
All right.
Everybody, have a great week. Take care.
Suck it,
Going
Birmingham.
forward. Suck it, Birmingham.